Hello, Marcus Lim here from Movie Group Analytics, here with some of my thoughts about the big news just recently announced of Babylon 5 getting rebooted. Now, firstly, Babylon 5 is a show that's near and dear to my heart. So I remember I was only a teenager at the time. It was back in the 90s. I can remember the series very, very fondly, especially around its peak, right? Around the second, third, fourth seasons. I would eagerly await the next episode, wondering what would come next. And at the time, it was still pre-internet, so it was literally impossible to find out much information. But that kind of added to the excitement at the time as well. So I was totally a fan. So, I would collect lots and lots of, Babylon 5 stuff I could find. I even collected every single script book, as you can see. I've got all 15 volumes of this, right? So that B5 books released all those years ago. And also here's something cool as well. Like a 20th anniversary B5 coffee table book. Okay. And more recently, there's even an encyclopedia, 2-volume, right? Yeah, so you can tell I'm a bit of a B5 nerd. And over the years, there have been numerous attempts to, revive B5. There was even talk of a feature film at one stage. But yeah, just never really, I guess, never really came to reality, right? None of those efforts. So JMS, the creator himself, right, Joe Michael Straczynski, even went so far as to say back in 2018, no intentions of letting anything else be done in terms of TV with Babylon 5, right? So this was 3-4 years ago now, and obviously something must have changed, because it was officially announced today or yesterday that B5 is getting rebooted, and more importantly as well, JMS himself is running the show, because it's one thing to have it rebooted, but if you don't have the right person behind it, then probably won't be that great, because JMS, of course, he knows the show, he created the show, so it's his baby. In fact, he's currently writing the pilot, right? So this should bring a collective sigh of relief to fans everywhere, I am sure. So here's the full description that Warner Brothers provided. Okay, so it says, from the ground up reboot of the original series, John Sheridan, an Earth Force officer with a mysterious background, is assigned to Babylon 5, a 5-mile-long space station in neutral space, a port of call for travelers, smugglers, explorers, diplomats at a time of uneasy peace and the constant dread of war. His arrival triggers a destiny beyond anything he could have imagined, as an exploratory Earth company accidentally triggers a conflict with a civilization a million years ahead of us, putting Sheridan and the rest of the B5 crew in a line of fire as the last best hope of the survival of the human race. If you know B5 at all, right, this is pretty much a dead-on description, as this says, of the original show. And so you could argue, as this journal is I think what he's saying here is that why not do a sequel or a continuation rather than a reboot, if it's just gonna retell the same story. But I guess there are good reasons for why JMS is going down this route, and he did tweet an answer right here. Right, so so let's have a quick look at his response. Actually, before I do that, I would like to just mention about JMS, his Patreon membership. Okay, so I'm one of the members, And so I was actually given a heads up, right, before the news was announced, to expect big news. So this was like 2 days before. It says, here we go, Monday, September 27th, turn your eyes to the sky, start googling Babylon 5. Something wonderful is about to happen. Okay. And also before, he actually tweeted the response here, right? This tweet here. Yeah, he also posted it first on Patreon. So if I come to right here, latest post, so here you go. Yeah, so this is what he posted before he posted on Twitter and other places. So let's see. To answer all the questions, yes, it's true, Babylon 5 is now in active development as a series for the CW. Now again, right, some fans not too keen on the idea of the CW because maybe they don't like some of the shows over there, but I don't think they've got anything to worry about, because what JMS is saying here is, there's serious fans over the network, so they're all really eager, they're all behind the show. So yeah, so I think we can rest assured that JMS will get the creative freedom that he needs to tell the story he wants to tell. So he's actually deep into writing the pilot now, right? Very exciting. And we'll be running the series, so that's also cool. He'll be running the series just as he did in the 90s. So the network understands the uniqueness of B5 and is giving me a great deal of latitude with the storytelling. It's exactly what he needs to do what he needs to do. So as noted in the announcement, this is a reboot from the ground up rather than a continuation. So right, this question of why not just do a sequel, that kind of thing. So here's one reason. Heraclitus, is that how you pronounce it? Heraclitus wrote, "You cannot step in the same river twice, for the river has changed and you have changed." Okay. Yeah, and how has he changed? Well, in a year since B5, he's done a ton of other TV shows and movies, adding an equal number of tools to my toolbox. And that's true, he's done heaps of stuff after B5 left the air in late 90s. Okay, so since then he's done movies, Marvel movies like Thor. He's done the Brad Pitt movie World War Z, the zombie movie, and also the Angelina Jolie movie directed by Clint Eastwood, The Changeling, which was like an award winner as well. So yeah, he's done a lot of stuff, and he's also done other TV shows as well. Right, Sense8 being one of the more high-profile ones with the Wachowski brothers. He did comics, Marvel comics, and recently also went back to comics to kind of kickstart the whole new comic universe. So like the Resistance, and also Telepaths comes to mind. Okay, yeah. And he also released a novel just recently this year, Together We Will Go. Yeah, so he's done heaps in different mediums, and so that's the exciting thing here. If I were creating B5 today for the first time, knowing what I know now as a writer, what it would look like, right? So that's very exciting. It's kind of like having JMS at the height of his abilities, his powers, right? Returning to arguably his most famous creation, like after 20-25 years. Very, very exciting. How could it use all the storytelling tools and technological resources available in 2021? Right, again, right, back in the 90s, obviously they don't have the same kind of tech that we have today, right? Just look at all the TV shows, right? Like the feature quality effects in TV episodes, right? Things that were not possible back then. So that's also exciting to be able to imagine, to realize the world of B5 with today's technological tools and resources. So how can it be used to reflect the world in which we live and even ask questions we confront every day? Fans point out how prescient the show was and is of our current world. Yeah, so as with all good science fiction, Babylon 5, it does comment about issues that we face, and also it's like a mirror to the world that we live in right now and how it could be. So we will not be retelling the same story in the same way because of what Heraclitus said about the river. There will be no fun and no surprises, so better to go the way of Westworld or Battlestar Galactica, where you take original elements that are evergreens and put them in a blender with a ton of new challenging ideas to create something both fresh and familiar. So those are two good examples he brings up. These are really good shows. Westworld was a more recent show. Battlestar Galactica, this is the reboot in the early 2000s by Ronald D. Moore, which was also a very good reboot, which took an old TV show, Battlestar Galactica, but makes it into something fresh and new, really, right? Looks nothing like the original, but there's still something familiar about it, and it also honors what has gone before. So that sort of gives you an idea of what I think what JMS has in mind for this B5 reboot. So to those who have asked why we're not just doing continuation, for a network series like this, it can't be done because over half our cast are still stubbornly on the other side of the rim. What he's talking about is, if we come to this picture of the original cast members, right? Andreas Katsoulas, for instance, who played Jakar, right? He's sadly passed away, and so has Myra Furlan as Delenn, also passed away. Bill Mami as Lanier still around. Peter Jurassic as Lana still around. Claudia Christian still around. Susan Ivanova. Bruce Boxleitner as John Sheridan still around. But Michael O'Hare passed away. He was Commander Sinclair. Jerry Doyle as Michael Garibaldi also passed away. Lisa Alexander as Patricia Tolman as Lisa Alexander. Yeah, she's still around. And but sadly, Richard Biggs as Dr. Franklin has passed away too. So that's over half the cast, isn't it? That's exactly what he's saying here. Half the cast still are not with us anymore. So how do you tell the continuing story of Londo, say, without Fear, or Jakar? How do you tell Sheridan's story without Delenn, or the story of B5 without Franklin, or Garibaldi, or Zack? So that's a really good point, right? From a practical point of view, it's just very hard unless you recast. But then, if you recast, then why not just reboot the whole thing? Yeah, that's probably why. The original B5 was ridiculously innovative. First to use CGI to create ships and characters, and among the first to shoot widescreen with a vigorous 5.1 mix. And also, this next point may be something that not a lot of people are aware of. The fact that B5 introduced viewers accustomed to episodic television to the concept of a 5-year arc with a pre-planned beginning, middle, and end, creating a brand new paradigm for TV storytelling that has subsequently become the norm. Okay, so the type of serialized storytelling that we take for granted these days on TV, right? Like the idea of having a continuous story over multiple seasons, that's just not what audiences were used to back in the 90s. And Babylon 5 was actually one of the first, if not the first, TV show to actually bring that idea or that concept of serialized storytelling to the audience, right? So it kind of was a forerunner, and so that tradition for innovation will continue in this new iteration, and I hope to create additional new forms of storytelling that will further push TV medium to the edge of what's possible. Okay, so that's exciting to also ponder, right? What other forms of storytelling techniques will JMS be able to introduce in this new iteration of Babylon 5? And so the conclusion here, by just saying how supportive and enthusiastic everyone in the CW has been and is being with this project. They understand the unique position B5 occupies both in TV and with legion of fans, and are doing everything they can to ensure the maximum creative freedom. A new story that will bring in new viewers while honoring all that has come before. So that's a very good summary of what this is attempting to do, which is, what all good reboots should do, right? Is to be able to bring in new viewers. Because if you think about it, like a young viewer today, right? 20-year-old wasn't even born back in the 90s when Babylon 5 first came out, right? So a lot of them probably have no idea what the show's all about. And you could introduce them to the old show, 90s. It still holds up, still really excellent, still great. But yeah, it's just that these days young viewers are perhaps a little bit more spoiled seeing all of the technological advances and all the graphics and stuff in movies, games, TV, right? So they probably might find the CGI in the 90s in the B5 a little bit antiquated, perhaps. And so yeah, to be able to do this kind of reboot with today's technology, hopefully you'll bring in new viewers. I guess that's the intent, while honoring all that has come before, right? So again, the B5, yeah, still holds up, as I say. The story is still amazing. Definitely check it out if you haven't. So I'm sure that that we'll be able to recognize elements that we as the older fans still love, but at the same time, yeah, bringing in those fans of the new generation. So these are the two main audiences that will flock to the show. So yeah, so that's some of my thoughts about what JMS has posted. Yeah, very, very exciting announcement. It's one of those things that you never thought this day would come. that there would be new B5 on the horizon. So yeah, so let me know what you guys think. Are you excited? Do you like the idea of a reboot, or would you rather see a spin-off or a continuation? So just comment below. In any case, this is very exciting to me as a long-time fan, and if this is your first intro to B5, definitely do check it out. I'm sure you will love it, and you'll be hooked. So that's it. Please do like and subscribe to this channel, and I will see you again in another video.